Okay, so what we plan to cover today is we'll cover chi-square and ANOVA. Okay, so that's the plan. Now, so let's do this way. So let's not take questions in between. So there are actually four things that we are going to discuss. Okay, so chi-square can be used for two purposes. Okay, one is called as goodness of fit, and another is called as association of attributes. Okay, so these are a couple of cases where chi-square is applicable, and then there is something called as ANOVA, where also there are some similarities, or there are some kind of groups that are available. Okay, so let's first look at chi-square. So chi-square, when we talk about this, goodness of fit, okay, so goodness of fit is about that you have been given a distribution, okay, and that distribution now you are using for that distribution now you are using to check, whether whether the data that you are seeing comes from that distribution or not. Okay, and chi-square is given like this. So O is the observed frequency. Okay, so this is the observed frequency, and E is the expected frequency. So expected frequency comes from the distribution that you are assuming, okay, or the distribution that you want to prove. Okay, so let's say this is a particular example. Let's look at this. So this is a fair die, and the phase values can be 1 to 6, right? And these are the observed values. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these are your observed values, okay? So observed values meaning that this is what has happened when you actually have thrown these dice. And this you have thrown for 1,000 times. So if you sum this up, okay, so you'll get a value of 1,000. Okay, and if it is a fair die, then what is the distribution? The distribution should be a uniform distribution, right? So all of this should have equal probability, isn't it? So this gives you expected probability, and expected probability will be this 1,000 by 6. So each of the cases it has been written as 166.67. Okay, so now what you do is, for each one of these values, you calculate this value, O minus E square by E. So this is your observed value, this is your expected value, and what you do is you do a O minus E square by E. So for this one you get a value of 22. For this one you get a value of 3.36, and that's how you go about it. Okay, and finally what you do is you sum all of them. Okay, so for this particular observation, the chi-square value that you are getting is around 48.46. Okay, and basically for chi-square, the degree of freedom is when you are doing a goodness of fit experiment is always number of values minus 1. Okay, so just to give you a common sense intuition, so let's say your total frequency is given. Okay, so if your total frequency is given and 5 observations, then you can find out the last observation. So if you know this already and 5 observations, then 5 observation, then you don't need to know the other observation, or you can find it from all the like all the 5 and the mean. Okay, so that's why it is the degree of freedom is called as 6 minus 1 or 5. Okay, all right. So now what we do is, so this is like your statistic value. Just 1 minute, I think someone else is trying to come in. Seeing that Shantanu is trying to join. Shantanu, have you joined? Actually, the problem, no, he has not joined, but then it's not giving me option also. Anyway, let's continue, and once again it pops up. Okay, so basically, if you remember that for each of this hypothesis testing that we are doing, we are calculating a statistic value. Okay, so here, this is the statistics value that we are going to get. Okay, also what is important is to understand that once I have a statistic value, I need to understand that which distribution I am going to check against. So this is again a very rough, crude understanding that if it is a squared term, then you take chi-square distribution. So if you remember, actually it is said that if you take a square of a normal distribution, then you get a chi-square distribution. Okay. However, we need to really go into theoretical understanding of that. But anytime if you are trying to deal with a square quantity, you can understand that this is a chi-square distribution. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and now check the value of chi-square distribution. Okay. So what is our degree of freedom? So our degree of freedom is 5, and these are different critical zone values for this particular chi-square. So this is your degree of freedom is 5. Okay. And let's say you are taking a critical value of 0.01. Okay, so 15.08 is your critical value. So if it is more than 15.08, then you actually reject the null hypothesis. Okay, and for your case, it comes much more than 15.08, right? So the null hypothesis here is, what was the null hypothesis? Can any one of you tell me?
Whether it belong to the population or not.
So what is the population?
Dice population, whether all the dice is expected to have the
Yes, you are in right line. Don't hesitate. Tell me.
dice belongs to the population that the expected values are 166. Each dice expected value is 167 around.
No, my
It
question
is fair.
is, my
Whether dice
question
is fair or not.
My question, yes, that's right. So
Whether dice is fair or not.
yes, the null hypothesis is, it is a fair dice.
Whether it's a biased or unbiased dice.
No, so how that can be your null hypothesis? If you say both yes and no at the same time, then how it will be your null hypothesis? So your null hypothesis will be that it is a fair dice.
It is a
right? Or that there is like no difference between, or there is no difference between the probability of getting a 1, getting a 2, getting a 3, getting a 4, getting a 5, and getting a 6, right? So that is your null hypothesis. Okay, and when your p-value is big, so what is the significance? So I already told you, right, that what is p-value? So p-value is probability of, so p-value is probability of probability of the data, okay, given the null hypothesis is true. Okay, probability of the data given the null hypothesis is true. That is your p-value, right? So what you want the p-value to be if you want to reject the null?
Insignificant.
You want the p-value to be very small, right? So then only you can reject the null hypothesis. So let me repeat, what is p-value? P-value is nothing but probability of the data, which is the data. Data is this observed value, right? This is your data. Okay. What is the probability of the data given the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis means fair dice, right? It is fair. Okay, is it clear? So when you will reject the null, you will reject the null when the probability is very, very small, right? If the probability is high, then you will not reject. And where from you will know that, you know, what up to what value of p will allow, that will come from your level of significance. Okay, so which is generally told that it is 0.05 or 0.01, something like that. Okay, which is available from this table, right? So 48 will be far away in the tail. So you can definitely conclude that null hypothesis is not true, or null hypothesis can be rejected, right? So this is your first case. Okay, now let's look at how you can do this in your SPSS. So we will look there, based on our time. But I just want to give you a highlight. So let's say you want to import this in your data. Okay. So then what you can do is you can have these two columns in your Excel, and you can import in SPSS, right? So this is the format, same format as we discussed. And then whenever, so one of the ways would have been that you are having 105 times 1, 143 times 2, 181 times 3, that way, right? So that could have been one of the ways. So that way you can have the data, or you can also have the data in this format, right? Where the frequency table is already prepared. So if you have the frequency table already prepared, there is an option called as weight cases. Okay. So what you do is you go in SPSS and check this option, and you say that how do you weight these cases? You weight by the frequency. Okay. And then where do you get this chi-square test? So you go into non-parametric, legacy, and then you get chi-square from there. Okay. All right. So this is where you can actually apply chi-square to do a goodness of fit. Okay. So now I will just open you guys for one or two questions in case you have. Okay, and then I will move forward.
লাস্ট যেটা বললেন একটু আরেকবার রিপিট করবেন স্যার প্লিজ।
Sure. I think the sharing got stopped, na?
Sharing টা হচ্ছে না।
Yes, sir.
Now visible.
You can see, right?
Now visible. Yeah. Visible.
So last means that where like the SPSS part.
Yes sir, yes SPSS.
Yes, sir, the SPSS part.
Okay. So what I will do is after this session, no, I mean, like if we get time, I will show you how to do this in SPSS. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
For this chi-square in SPSS, we can go to analyze and descriptive and then cross tab. Then also we can get this chi-square distribution.
Yes. It is from analyze only.
Analyze, then descriptive, and then cross tab. Like you have given analyze, then non-parametric, legacy, chi-square.
No.
Steps.
You cannot
I'm
do that.
talking about the steps.
No, you cannot do that because that is for the other kind of chi-square test.
Like for association.
Yes, for association.
Okay. And this is for goodness of fit. We have to follow the steps. Analyze, non-parametric, legacy. Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes. And can any one of you tell me why this test is called non-parametric?
The distribution is not normal. So not for a normal distribution that we use.
Not for a normal distribution. So does that mean like? I mean, I'm not sure if.
Parameters are not known.
Pardon?
Parameters are not known.
Parameters are not known. Okay, parameters of what?
Parameters means mean, variance.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
chi-square is non-parametric test because it makes no assumption about the distribution of the sample.
It measure on a nominal scale or categorical scale. That's why.
This was Nikki, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but is it the case? Didn't we assume that it is to be, it is an uniform distribution? So you are actually assuming something about the distribution. So why should you call it non-parametric? Okay. So let me not confuse you guys further. So basically, it is called non-parametric because it can be applied on any kind of probability distribution. So we tried to do it for uniform distribution. We could have tried it for Poisson distribution. We could have applied this for binomial distribution. So if if you are doing a head and tail, and then let's say head has come 55 times and tail has come 45 times. Okay, so then you call it comes from binomial distribution. Though you can think roughly as uniform distribution as well, but in binomial you have the flexibility that someone can test whether the probability is 60% or not, right? So if that is the case, then also you can apply chi-square. So you can apply chi-square for any parametric distribution or even for non-parametric distribution. Only thing that you need to know is the expected frequency and the observed frequency. Because let me again remind you, when we were comparing sample of mean of two samples, do you remember?
Yes, sir.
So there we were always telling that it comes from a normal distribution or something like that. So here there is no such assumption like that. Okay, so let's now go to the cross-tab part. So cross-tab means that you have multiple categorical variables. Okay, so this is a particular case that we have taken.
স্যার ভয়েসটা ইকো হচ্ছে আপনার
Yes, the reason is that some of you, so you'll have to mute yourselves, then the echo will stop. Hello? Yeah, I think now it is better, right? Okay, so basically cross-tab means there will be two categorical conditions. So here if you see that there are some diets, okay, a diet called as AHA, okay, this is one option, and another option is Mediterranean diet, okay, and basically there are different diseases. So you have cancer, fatal heart disease, non-fatal heart disease, and no disease. Okay, and basically what you want to find out is that there is actually these two diets doesn't have an effect on the disease. Okay, so or basically what you want to say is that there is the null hypothesis is that there is no association between the diet and the disease. Okay, so this is your null hypothesis. Now how you go about it is, yes, the question is whether there is a significant relationship between diet and outcome, which is the disease that I am talking about. Okay, the first step is to compute the expected frequency of each cell based on the assumption that there is no relationship. So this is your which frequency is given, right? This is your observed frequency. Now there is a little bit of trick to find out how do I get the expected frequency of this. Okay. So if you look carefully, then there are 22 cancer patients out of 605 total patients, right? Okay. Now, if I want to find out if there is no relationship at all with the diet, then how many cancer patients will be there who are taking this particular diet? It should be this 22 by 605 into this 303, right? So I am assuming the same proportion will be used as the total population, right? 22 by 605 into 303. So this will be the expected frequency. So if I do this calculation, this will come to 11.82. Okay. Similarly, I can do for this one. So how I will calculate this? So this will be 38 by 605 into 303. How do I calculate this one?
33 by 605 into 303.
This one.
302 into 302.
Into 302.
Oh, this one 33 into 302 divided by 605.
Very
Yes.
good. Very good. So this is how you calculate the expected frequencies. And here your degree of freedom is given as R minus 1 into C minus 1. Okay. So R is number of rows and C is number of columns. Okay. So what you do is now you just do the calculation that what is expected and what is observed. Okay. So, you know, this is your, so these are your observed ones and these are your expected ones. Okay. And then finally, same way I calculate the chi-square. So here my chi-square value comes to be 16.55. Okay. Now one thing is that for every time you are doing a chi-square, you are always doing this observed minus expected square by expected. Okay. So this is what has been done. Okay. Also, you know, for the simplification of the formula, you can also think it like this. So anytime if you are trying to find the expected frequency of a particular cell, okay, so what you can actually do is you can actually, you know, multiply the row, the column total, the row total, okay, and divide by the total number of observations. Okay, so that is another simple way to find that out. So if for 25, so you can right away know that it is 33 into 303 by 605, right? So this is one another, you know, shorthand way to remember this, and the chi-square value that you get over here is 16.55. Okay, so you know, if I go back and check the value of chi-square distribution, so here it was 4 minus 1 into 2 minus 1, right? So the degree of freedom was 3. Okay, so still you see that you know, for 0.005 also the chi-square value is 12.83, right? So which is, so we got here 16.55, so which is much higher. So here also you actually reject the null hypothesis, that you reject that you do not agree that there is no effect of you know, diet on the outcome or the health condition, right? So these are the two cases of chi-square. And now how you can do that. So I am just showing you one format. So one of the format is, what you can do is you can put in this format, right? So all the combinations basically, if you see, okay, all the 8 combinations you put in 8 rows, right? And you have the corresponding frequencies. And again from data you choose this weight cases option. and then from analysis you go to descriptive statistics and cross step, and then you do the chi-square. However, when you are actually doing the cross tab, there will be an option called a statistic where you will have to go and select it to be chi-square. Okay. So, this is how you can do both the chi-square tests. All right. So now what I will do is I will try to give you the understanding of ANOVA. Okay. So any one of you have worked with ANOVA earlier?
Yes, sir. I have done.
Yes, I have done. I worked with ANOVA.
Very good. So then we have, okay, so let me share my Excel sheet.
Sir, for chi-square test, SPSS interpretation not required.
Yes, it is required. See, all the tests, what you are going to do is you are going to set up the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. And then you are going to calculate your statistic value. And you are going to find out your degree of freedom. Then from this distribution and statistics, you can get the critical value, the critical region. Now from your data, you calculate the value of statistic. If it is greater than the critical value, then you reject the null. If it is less than the critical value, you accept the null. So, this is more or less similar for each one of them, each one of the tests. Okay. Okay, now can you see?
Sir, so in the output portion, just we require the p-value for accepting or rejecting the null hypothesis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, exact p-value you may not get sometime, but what you need is you actually want the statistic value corresponding to the alpha level that is given to your question. Okay. So now let us look at ANOVA, and ANOVA is applied when there are multiple categorical variables. Okay, multiple categorical variables, and you want to see that basically if there is a difference between the different diets or different treatments. So basically, let's say you have different type of patients or maybe different type of students, and you apply different maybe coaching materials to each one of them. Okay, so for some of them you teach them by video lectures, for some of them you teach them on online, some of them it's offline class. Let's say these three methods are there. Then what you do is you actually calculate or you take a test, and then you observe that whether or you just observe the student scores, or in all these three conditions. Okay, and the null hypothesis is that so these three treatments or these three type of coachings are similar. Okay, so there is no significant difference between these three, and your alternative hypothesis is that the difference is significant. Okay, now just another understanding. So let's say you have three means, okay, or three groups. So if you have three groups, can you tell me that how many pairwise combinations are there? Did you get my question?
So one will be treatment 1 will be compared with treatment 2, treatment 2 will be compared with treatment 3, treatment 3 will compare with treatment 1, like this?
Yes, like this. So how many will be there?
Six.
8.
Why 8?
6, sir.
Six.
Yes, it will be 6. Or will it be 6 or it will be 3?
6, sir.
3. 1 will be compared.
It will be 3, right?
Three. I said 3. So 1 is compared to 2, 2 is compared to 3, 3 is compared to 1.
Compared to 1.
So 3.
Right.
Oh,
Yes,
Nirdeep,
3.
You got it?
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
So you are right. There will be 3 comparisons. Now, can you tell me that this comparison could you have done using any other test?
So we could have done using pair t-test. Independent t-test. But since it is more than 2
Independent
groups,
sample
we
t-test. Yes.
t-test,
Very
yes.
good.
And since it is more than 2 group, we are going for ANOVA. Had it been 2 group, we would switch to independent t-test.
Not yes, independent t-test, but still, would we have done a t-test over here?
So if it would be only treatment 1
If
and
it is
treatment 2,
within
Yes, pairwise, sir, pairwise t-test can be possible.
No. See, pairwise
Pairwise-
t-test is a different concept altogether. Okay, pairwise t-test will only be possible when you are doing the treatment on same set of patient. So there is a pairing, right?
No, I mean to say that treatment 1, if we consider first treatment 1 and treatment 2, then it is one pair. Then we can consider for this.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Perfect. So this is the answer actually I was looking for. That actually, if you apply 3 t-tests, you can get the same result.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's say you perform your testing. Okay, you perform your testing and you see that there is a significance in the mean. Okay. That is, the means of these 3 treatments are not same. Okay. So can you conclude that treatment 1 is different from treatment 2 and treatment 2 is different from treatment 3 and treatment 3 is different from treatment 1?
yes,
Can you
we can
conclude that?
conclude that. Yes, sir, we can conclude that. Because it is significantly different. It means
No,
treatment
you
1 is
cannot-
different from treatment.
Okay,
So
so
for
this
that
is
we have to check post hoc.
okay.
For
so what
seeing
is
which
post hoc?
in which group we have the different, we can go for the post hoc. Then if there is a significant difference, then we are going to go for post hoc analysis to see in which group this difference is there, like between treatment 1 or treatment 2, or between treatment 3 and treatment 1, or treatment 3 and treatment 2. For that we'll go for the post hoc analysis. We can use any of the method from there, and then we can get the result that in which group there is actually a significant difference.
Yes. So when you get a value where you cannot reject the null, it just tells you that at least one of the pairs, there is a non-zero or significant difference in mean. And it doesn't tell anything beyond that. Okay. And from a statistical point of view, there is something called as a, honestly significant difference, which is called as Tukey's HSD test. So which you can apply after you have applied your ANOVA. Your HSD can tell you that for which group the significance is the difference is significant. Okay.
Please pardon this portion.
So basically what I'm saying is that, you have 3 treatments A, B and C, and you get a significant value where you reject the null from ANOVA. Okay. I'm not going into the statistics now. From ANOVA. So these are your 3 groups. What you know from here is that one of the difference is significant. Okay, at least one of them. All 3 can be, but at least one of them is significant. So if you want to find, like he was mentioning about post hoc, okay. So there is another test called as Tukey's HSD test. Okay, honestly significant difference. So what it does after you have applied ANOVA, so it just finds which one of HSD on each one of them. which is kind of your pairwise t-test only, not pairwise, independent sample t-test. Okay. So after you have applied ANOVA and you have got a significant value, your next step should be to find out that for which group there is a significant difference. Okay. Okay, so before I start describing this, I think we are at the verge of the time, so it will be like ended automatically. So let's stop here and we'll join back in 2 minutes. Okay. Is it all right?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. I will join in the same meeting.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay.